I am Travis Stevens, a writer, director, producer, Girl on the Third Floor, Jacob's Wife, and A Wounded Fawn that comes out December 1st on Shudder. And here I am in the cellar, completely overwhelmed with awesomeness on every shelf. So I grew up in a small town in Vermont, which had a video store, but was pretty limited in its selection. And the college I went to, wasn't really there weren't a lot of cinephiles. So basically my education on sort of genre film stuff begins with home video and DVDs and Blu-rays, and not just in terms of seeing a movie for the first time, but in all of the supplements that are on the disc, and sort of learning more about the context in the time they were made, context what the filmmakers were trying to do, what the collaborators were trying to do. I don't think of myself as a collector. I think of it more as I'm getting stuff from my library so that I can sort of continue my education that I didn't get in my sort of when I first got into film. So if you're ever wondering if you should feel bad about buying home video, DVD, Blu-ray stuff, you shouldn't, because you're really investing in your education. This is what I tell my partner every time one comes in the mail. So thank you for inviting me, and let's begin.
In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth.
I did come across Santa Sangre in college on VHS. If you haven't seen it, plot is one aspect of the film, but symbolism and sort of just artistic expression is equally as valuable to the story. It's something that Jodorowsky put front and center in all of his films. And I think when I first saw this in the 90s, I was a bit overwhelmed by that just expressiveness of it. And I was like, I don't know what this is, it makes me feel uncomfortable. And I got to produce a documentary called Jodorowsky's Dune, and really get a better sense of sort of what the approach is. Even if you don't understand it or don't vibe with it the first time, watch the supplements, watch it again. It's definitely a movie that sort of points in the direction of what cinema can be.
Enjoy the movie, and don't worry, we will wait for you. Come along, we'll wait.
See, great. Another documentary on a filmmaker, and so I had not been aware of Fulci's work. For whatever reason, the video store in my hometown didn't have all of the classics. And then I made a movie with a filmmaker named Ted Geoghegan called We Are Still Here that really sort of was an homage to Fulci's work, and sort of in that process, that was my first exposure to him. But what's amazing about this documentary is both the creative approach to giving biographical information is wonderful and creative, but I think besides just the information, it provides this sort of emotional context to who he was, what he was trying to do, and what his collaborators were trying to do. And that sort of focusing on the emotional context is a lot more interesting than just getting on Wikipedia and learning facts. So I can't recommend this documentary enough. It's absolutely wonderful. It provides a sort of a new perspective on his films, even if you've seen them before. And everybody interviewed in it is a character, and it's really wonderful. So a must-have, a must-get. Buy it.
You got to do it, okay?
You might as well get The Devil's Honey after you've gotten Fulci for Fake, because I'm not going to say it's a great film, but it does a lot of great things in it. And again, in that doc, it sort of gives us context of what was going on in his life in the time leading to this. And there are moments of painting with such broad strokes that you just don't see in cinema anymore. This movie opens up with one of the most aggressively expressive sort of opening statements in cinema you'll ever see.
What are you gonna do, Johnny?
I'm gonna dedicate this to you.
Probably is the most pretentious way to talk about a guy pleasuring a woman with his saxophone solo. If that doesn't intrigue you, watch the Fulci doc, then you'll be jazzed on this. We're gonna do Fulci. I think we got to do a little bit of Sergio Martino. So again, it had been a blind spot for me until I think this release came out. You know, I think Sergio Martina is doing films at that level of Argento and Fulci, and it needs to be talked about in that sort of same sort of like wild fucking 70s horror thriller art cinema. So this is just a banger, an all-time classic. You've probably already seen it, but if not, you should follow it up with this. And I think, like, again, it's one of those movies, like, the plot's good, it's got a little crime story that you don't sort of see the twist coming. But even just as, if you're interested in filmmaking and interested in sort of the mechanics of cinematic vocabulary, like, what he does in this movie is, it seems effortless. There's these sort of handheld motorcycle sequences where once you start making films and really analyzing, it's like, how the hell did they get these shots? And yet it just looks like it's just sort of happening. And I think his sort of like, what he does really well is this sort of combination of like really clear sort of technical intention that he's able to capture in a really lo-fi way. And it's sexy, it's strange, and it's definitely like a huge inspiration to me. Like, I just want to achieve a movie that has this amount of fucking weird sex in it, so.
Drop it. I don't like your sex habits.
Better that way.
This Lindsay Baker box set, Umberto Lenzi and Carol Baker, like, again, had no fucking idea. I mean, afterwards I started being, I saw her in that movie and I saw that, but this is like, again, just provides this context to sort of where she was in her career, and once you get like 4 movies together, you sort of get a sense of somebody else's filmmaking journey. There's this like 70s Playboy magazine aspect of like, we're just going to find some beautiful locations, we're going to put some really attractive people in nice clothes, and they're going to have some drinks, and then there'll be some murder. Airplane trips, sports cars, villas, let's have a threesome, let's listen to some music, oh my God, I got drugged and something weird's going on. Like, it transports you, not just to another time, but like to like another value system that is it's basically the cheapest vacation you can go on. Just get this box set. It'll be good. You won't regret it. I'm gonna grab 2 films from the same filmmaker here. Sinfonia Erotica and She Killed in Ecstasy, that were blind buys for me during one of Severin's sales. And I think I maybe got Sinfonia with another one of his titles, but I don't remember exactly what happens in these movies. But I will just say, this filmmaker and his partner made so many movies together that are bizarre, erotic, loving, adventurous, experimental, aesthetically pleasing. Like, even if the movies themselves aren't good, it's fascinating to watch, and it might inspire you in your own work. You might pull something from it. And I think like that's what I like about Jess Franco's work a lot, which is like, even if the story isn't quite, you're kind of like, maybe I'm outside this, like, where he set the scene, like, oh, that's a really interesting location, and that wall is like a really nice color, and that framing is really cool. Like, there's always something, some intention, some artistic intention there that you can get from it, even if the plot or the execution wavers a bit. It's really fucking exciting, and he's definitely a filmmaker that inspires me, inspires my work, and yeah, and I just love, like, make movies with your partners. Like, what could be better than that? Especially if they're fucking hot.
It's a pity you didn't see me in Hamburg. I did a marvelous number with a racehorse. That's super porno, you understand.
I don't know if anybody, it's like, so I watched the Severin Cellar Visits, and I think Josh Miller had sort of flagged this as a title, and just in the clip, I just saw a bunch of cats, and I was like, oh, my partner definitely is going to enjoy that movie if it's got a bunch of killer cats. It may not have killer cats in it, but I'm going to grab it anyways. And I think that's part of the fun with these titles is like, you don't know exactly what you're going to get, but like take a chance because you're going to get something. There's going to be something of value from there. So yeah, going to get the uncanny. There was one that I think Daniel Robeck had flagged, The Boy. There we go. Boys Next Door. Yep. I mean, I moved to LA a long time ago, but I think it was a few years after LA was really popping off with Charlie Sheen going nuts around town. So I'm gonna try to reconnect. It's Penelope Sears. I have no idea what the plot is, but all I know is bad boys like driving around. I think it's LA. Is it LA? It is. All right, great. Then I'm sold. There we go. Again, I know nothing about this film other than when Simon Barrett was here, he was like, it's artful and it's pretentious. And I was like, that's me, that's mine. I'm gonna grab that when I get there. So if you haven't watched it yet, either get it or maybe start with Simon's episode of The Visit to the Cellar and get a little context. But the imagery in it just seemed bold and I was like, yeah, I want some of that. So, cool. I think that's it. I think I'll take a breath now, yeah.